Hey you guys, welcome back to another episode of the New Day with Natalie podcast. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the most common fights that I see happen between an anxious and an avoidantly attached person. And this fight typically ends in a breakup. Okay, so we're going to talk about first what that fight is, what that conflict is, and then at the end of the episode, I'll give you some advice on what to do if you find yourself fighting about this thing and you're like, I don't want this relationship to end. I heard a podcast about this. What do I do? I'm going to tell you how to prevent a breakup. It really boils down to understanding yourself a little bit better, because if you understand why you say the words you say and you understand why you do the things that you do, then you'll get a better picture on what you need in a relationship and what your intentions are. I hope this episode helps you guys, at least like someone, if you feel like you're in this fight or this fight just happened. The conflict doesn't have to be like a yelling fight, just like a misunderstanding, a disagreement, okay? And you've never had one yet in the relationship and you're like, oh man, is it gonna end just like the last ones? I hope that this episode gives you some information on what your partner is trying to convey and maybe also help you understand yourself a little bit better and what you are actually saying. It's crazy how you think like this relationship is the one and we're never gonna fight, because people who fight are just, they're crazy. Like this is the perfect relationship, and all of a sudden you run into your first fight. Or it doesn't have to be a yelling fight. Again, it could just be a disagreement and you feel like the feeling in your stomach, like, oh my God, it's gonna end. Okay. If that's where you're at right now, I hope that this episode helps you, because I know that's how I felt too. Like my boyfriend and I have like an extremely healthy relationship. I'm so happy and satisfied and fulfilled in our relationship. But we've had this exact disagreement maybe a couple of times, and now that I understand like myself better and I understand where he's coming from, because we talk about it right after, like that's also the difference. Everything is ironed out and we see each other and we love each other and we continue on. Okay, we've been together 2 years and it's amazing. If you don't talk about it and if you don't see your partner through and you don't listen to their side and they don't listen to your side, then you have a recipe for disaster, because that's what a relationship really should be built on, like communication and trust and respect, and being able to take a step back when you need to and coming back and realizing, okay, I thought about this in a different way. I'm cooled off. Like, let's, re-engage and look at the situation again. Okay. So let's talk about the conflict. Okay. It usually goes something like this. Let's say on a Saturday night, the avoidantly attached partner decides to go out with his friends to go get some dinner. Maybe the avoidant was gone all day. Like maybe the avoidant went to the gym and the grocery store, and then he's like, oh, I'm just going to go catch dinner with my friends because the restaurant was right next to the grocery store. So it just made sense. Like, why would I go all the way home? I'm just going to get dinner. The avoidant might tell the anxious, hey, I'm getting dinner, be back later. So when the avoidant gets home, the anxious person feels like they haven't seen their avoidant partner all day. They tell their avoidant partner, listen, I feel like I haven't seen you all day. I feel like I just want some, nice time with you, and I just need some reassurance that you still love me. That's if the anxious person is very insecure. Not all anxious people need that constant reassurance. Maybe it's just that night because the avoidant was just gone, and maybe the anxious person had a special dinner they wanted to make or something like that. So the avoidant person hears the anxious, but they don't interpret what they are saying in the same language. They don't understand what the anxious person's intentions are. And they basically hear the anxious person saying this. Instead of hearing, I miss you and I want to spend more time with you, all the avoidant person hears is they are blaming the avoidant and they are criticizing the avoidant. The avoidantly attached person could hear, you are not good enough. You are failing me. You are making me sad. You are ruining this relationship. And they also might start to feel like the anxious person is controlling the avoidant. Because if they weren't happy that they weren't home this Saturday night to be with friends, the anxious person was sad all by themselves. So the avoidant thinks that the anxious is saying, you better be home next Saturday to spend time with me. And if you're not, I'm going to blame you again for my sadness and the destruction of this wonderful relationship that we once had. As you can hear, the avoidantly attached person is triggered and their defense starts to go up. So they get super defensive in their response to the anxious. What the avoidant person will usually say back is something along the lines of, you're not actually upset about our emotional connection and our closeness. You're actually upset that I got dinner without you. I was with my friends and you got jealous. Basically, what just happened is the avoidant started to reframe the issue into something more tangible, because the idea of discussing emotions and closeness is something that is uncomfortable and it's overwhelming, and it makes the avoidant feel kind of vulnerable. What the anxious person was actually trying to say is, I have an issue with our emotional closeness. And the conversation was about love and validation and closeness and the intimacy in the relationship, okay? They were feeling a disconnect. But the avoidant was like, I don't want to fight about that because that's something that makes me uncomfortable. I want to fight about something that is tangible, and if we turn it onto you, I'm no longer in the spotlight. You can't question me and corner me and control me and blame me. Instead, I'm going to do it to you and put you in the spotlight and actually call out your biggest fear or your biggest insecurity or whatever it might be. Typically, this disconnect or miscommunication will lead into a fight because the anxious person on a deep level under the surface is seeking safety and reassurance. And on the flip side, the avoidantly attached person is seeking autonomy and independence. Okay, so it's like the anxious person is speaking English and the avoidant person is speaking Japanese. And you guys don't understand both of those languages. So it's like, what did you say? I don't speak Japanese. And the avoidant's like, I don't speak English. What are you saying? Even though I said that in English. Essentially, it's miscommunication. There's a gap and then it only escalates, okay? So the anxious person will probably try to stand up for themselves and say like, no, I don't care if you go out for dinner with your friends. Like, I just want to feel close to you. I just want to have some like close, intimate moments with you. Maybe we could go on a date night. Like, I just want to have some nice time with you. And then all of a sudden, the avoidantly attached person will most likely double down and start to say, like, you're too controlling. You always need me to check in constantly. And it makes them feel like the anxious person is controlling them. And it makes them feel like the anxious person is requesting that they ask permission to go out with their friends. And the avoidant doesn't want that because deep down, their identity is wrapped around this idea that they are independent, they're autonomous, they don't need anyone else. It's nice to have people in their life, but when that person or anyone in their life starts to take over so much that they can't do anything on their own, or they feel bad about the things that they want to do, like eating dinner with friends on a Saturday night without asking anyone, just like doing it. And by the way, they did send a text to the anxious, so the anxious shouldn't be mad. So the avoidant's like, I don't understand what you're saying. Like, you are so controlling, you're so clingy, you only need me to be happy, and this is so overwhelming. And the anxious is like, you know what? I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to get in a fight. What I said, it doesn't matter. And then the anxious starts to back up and become a people pleaser. And then sometimes the conflict is just dusted under the rug, and then no one ever actually talks about the issue, and no one actually discusses like what they actually need and sees each other. And instead they just continue on in their relationship and usually will run into the same issue again and again and again and again until it ends in a breakup. Both sides are not wrong. In the heat of the conflict, both people are just spilling exactly what's bothering them in the relationship. When you're sharing what's bothering you, but you never listen to the other person and hear what bothers them, then how do you solve the problem? How do you solve the thing that's making you uncomfortable and not happy? The anxious is coming from an emotional standpoint, and the avoidant is coming from a logistical standpoint, okay? Because emotions are too much, but logistics and like hardcore facts are real. And the anxious it just gets mad when you're like the anxious gets mad when the avoidant starts blaming them for something that isn't true, but they also don't want to fear rejection or abandonment, or they don't want to feel rejected or abandoned, so they could just be a people pleaser. Sometimes that exact conflict could just end the relationship right there. This is what I would suggest. And again, this has happened to my boyfriend and I, like different topics. But I remember when it did happen, it was frustrating because I was sharing one thing and he was saying something completely different. And I didn't want to fight because like I love him so much and I know he didn't want to either. But I was like, we're on a different page because I am saying something, but he keeps talking about something completely different. And he probably felt the same about me. So what we did was give each other space. He was like in the other room and I was in like the kitchen or whatever. And I was just like trying to replay what just happened and understand what I was feeling, what he was feeling, what we both needed. And this is what I realized. I was talking about an emotional stance of what I needed emotionally, and he was talking about the logistical stance of what he also needed: autonomy, independence, freedom, feeling like he doesn't have to ask me permission to live his life and be a man, okay? Even though that's not what I've ever told him, it's what it can feel like. Basically, we reconvened and he was the one that came up to me because I was still trying to think it through, but he thought it through and already knew. And he didn't even say a word. He just walked up to me and hugged me, and that was it. And that's what I would definitely recommend. You guys, like when you're in one of these conflicts and it's really heated, hold hands or hug, because that's going to cool you guys down a lot. When the anxious brings it up first, that's typically how it happens, the avoidant's going to put on armor, like they are going to war. And if you see your avoidant put on armor like they're going to go to war, it's going to make you also want to put on armor and fight back to protect yourself. And if both of you guys are trying to solve an issue, but like you're ready to fight, I don't think you're actually going to solve the issue. And instead, you're only going to hurt each other's feelings and damage the relationship. What happened was we hugged and it brought us down a notch, or at least it did for me. And we just talked it through, like, this is what I felt and this is what I need. And I did the same. And we were able to see each other and hold each other and try to change, try to find a solution that would work for both of us. And we did. That brings me on to my advice section of this podcast. Here's some practical advice for the avoidantly attached person, okay? So in the moment that the anxious starts to attack the avoidant, the most important thing to do is remember not to debate, not to defend, but just simply reassure your partner. Just saying short phrases like, I love you, I'm not going anywhere, and I hear you, okay? My boyfriend actually does this to me like all the time. And if we've ever had a conflict, like he actually says that first, like, I'm not going anywhere. And him just saying that makes me feel like so calm and collected, and it works for me. So if you're an avoidant, say that to your anxious partner. Hugging or holding hands can definitely lower the anxiety for the anxious person, okay? And then for the anxious person, my recommendation for you, try to remove your armor so that you are not attacking your avoidant partner, okay? And try to approach them gently, because anything that you say could come across as a punch, all right? Even though that's not what you're trying to do. So instead of leading with a blame statement, like something like, you never make time for me, what you could say instead is, I miss you. I'd love more connection with you. How can we make that happen? Okay, so it's less of a fight and more of a conversation. And if your avoidant partner says something like, I don't want to ask permission from you to live my life, then you could actually hear them on a deeper level because you're calmed down and they're talking and this is a conversation. You'll know that actually means, I'm afraid of losing my freedom. And so what you should do is validate that fear. I don't want to take away your freedom. I don't want to make you feel stuck. I want you to live your best life. I just want to find time where we can have an intimate date, and then I'll be okay. Something like that will work, but obviously you know your partner better than I do. Both partners just need to realize that you're both speaking different languages, okay? And one is very emotional and one is very logistic, okay? So if you can start to read in between the lines while also being respectful to your partner and knowing like, okay, this might trigger you or this might make you make you feel like I'm blaming you or attacking you or whatever, then all of a sudden you can see each other, make each other feel validated and loved and reassured while making sure you solve this conflict and prevent a breakup from happening. Now we're going to enter into the Q&A session of the podcast. If you guys do have a question for me, feel free to send me a voice memo on Instagram DM. Okay, I want to make that very clear. Anyone that sends me a voice memo, I will answer your questions first on my Instagram. I'll link my Instagram down below, and make sure you give me a follow as well, and then I'll make sure to answer you. The first question is, hi Natalie, can I ask you for advice? I want to start a conversation with my ex after 3 years of breaking up, but each time I try to talk to her, she gives me a cold shoulder. So in this situation, I would suggest putting ice on this relationship and just being done with it. If you are going through a breakup and you continuously try to reach out to your ex and they are not responding, it usually means they still need time, they need more distance, they want to recharge, or simply they don't want to be in a relationship, and that's why you guys broke up. So continuously trying to make something work that just isn't working right now is kind of a waste of time, right? So, and like, I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. And like, I've been in your shoes. I know what it feels like. It's like you just want to be back together with this person. But what if in your free time, instead of brainstorming, how can I make this work? What type of message can I send? What if in your free time, you actually just decided to do things that make you happy? Try a new craft, make new friends, go on a walk outside, buy a dog, whatever would make you happy. If you just did that, then number one, the time would go by faster. If they did come back to you, it'd be like, wow, I like totally forgot that this was even an option, right? And number two, you might meet someone else along the way that fits this new version of you a lot better. And then you could take the lessons that you learned from this past relationship and apply it to your new one. So that's what I would recommend. I know it's not what you want to hear. If you want to just break the ice with your ex, you can always just say as well, like, hey, I'm in the area. Do you want to go grab lunch on this day at 6 o'clock or whatever? That's a late lunch at like 2 o'clock. And then if they respond to you like, yeah, sure, that sounds great, it means they're interested in something. So then you'll know. Otherwise, if they don't respond or they just say no, that's another indicator they're not interested. So just giving up on this relationship, taking the lessons and moving on will probably be your best bet and also your best investment of time. That is it for this episode, you guys. If you would like to share with me your specific story and need advice from me, then please feel free to sign up for a video call down below. I also offer email advice as well. Links are down below for that. I have a book called How to Get Over Your Avoidant Ex and Become Securely Attached. It's $11. It's basically like reading a book and having me coach you at your own pace, essentially. So that's on Amazon. And then I'm also relaunching the Anxious to Secure program. The waitlist is also listed down below. If you want to get on the waitlist to get a special discount, drop your email down below. So you guys, that is it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.